Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, in 2024, and we promised you that this time around we're going to be talking about soft skills. So, welcome to the 3PN Network podcast. It's a podcast that is passionate about helping young Black people in the UK, Black professionals, gain an advantage or leverage the skills and services that they provide in society. Today's conversation is on a very important topic. It's on communication. Now, everyone communicates, everyone talks, but how do we connect with people? We want to go beyond careers and beyond degrees because most institutions, most organizations, the top three IT companies are no longer looking at your degrees. They are looking at you, what you bring to the table. And I believe I have the best person to talk to me today about improving your communication skills. My name is DK Jonah. I'm one of the members of the 3PM podcast host. And with me today, I have the beautiful Lola Ogunbandejo. Now, Lola is someone that I love because of the fact that we share something in common. We are both introverts that learn how to use our voice once we found it. So she's going to be talking to us a little bit more about herself, why she's qualified to talk to us about improving our communication skills. And I think Lola's story and Lola's journey is a testament to the fact that once you find your voice and you have your skills, you are able to bring them to the best of your own ability. Hi, Gloria. Before I bring Lola on board, I always do this. Let me know where you're listening from. If you're listening from Nigeria, if you're listening from London, just let me know. Lola and I would love to meet you and get to connect with you. But without further ado, let's say hello to Lola. Hi, Lola.
Hello, DK. How are you?
Doing great. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing fabulous. Fabulous. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. Today's conversation is one that I believe will be helpful for young Black people that are in, oh, hi, Mayowa, that are in a very diverse culture and learning how to use a skill that is very important to them. But before we go into it, I'd like you to let people know about you a little bit more. However, in the comments before as Lola is speaking, let me know what your own definition of communication is. So, Lola, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening. As my lovely sister has rightly said, my name is Lola Ogunbandejo. I am a TV presenter, a producer, a writer, and I've been in the industry for several years now, glory be to God. I started my journey in 2010 at a church named Jesus House. I was working, volunteering rather, in the media department before I managed to get a job at OTV. I don't know if any of you remember OTV. OTV used to be on Sky Channel 199, and I worked there as a presenter for a wonderful program called Africa Rising. But even before that, I started as a runner, and then I progressed to becoming a presenter, and then my career just kind of went on from there. But I think the interesting thing about me is that I, like DK rightly said, I'm an introvert. I'm extremely, in fact, there was a stage in my life where I was painfully shy. I couldn't speak. It was difficult for me to breathe when I had to speak. I had so many challenges speaking to people, but I actually had to learn, for the sake of my sanity and especially for the sake of my career, on how to speak with confidence in different scenarios and different situations. And it's that experience that I gained in my career, but also in life in general, that has helped me to become the woman I am today, and also birthed in me the desire to help others to achieve what I have achieved and even more. So I hope that is a great
I think
introduction.
that was an amazing introduction because I didn't know you worked in Jesus House. So this was the first time I knew about OHTV because I think that was around when we met. But it's wonderful to see your career progression. That was going to be my first question, but you've answered it in such an amazing way. Now, talked about volunteering first, church,
Mhm.
before finding your gift. How do you think volunteering played a role in you finding yourself and actually understanding who you are?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question. Volunteering, I think actually the proper term I should use for that was work experience. But yeah, volunteering is the same thing, I guess. So how that helped me was it gave me a deeper insight into what I really wanted to do because at one point I was a bit unsure about the path I wanted to take. But I was working in the media department in Jesus House with a lovely man called Ayobami who really taught me a lot of stuff about leadership, about dealing with different people's temperaments, and just understanding other people's vision. And it just gave me clarity on where I want to head in my career in terms of TV, in terms of media. So I would suggest that anybody who lacks experience in a particular area and they want to gain experience, do some work experience. It doesn't have to necessarily be a long time. It could be for a week, it could be for a month. And then whilst you're there, try your best to gain as much knowledge, as much insight, as much experience as possible. Ask a lot of questions, do everything you can, get a full, rounded understanding of what it is that you want to do. And yeah, that's essentially what I did. And it really did help me.
Fantastic. And I know you mentioned something, we are both introverts. Do you think at any point in time you being an introvert kind of impacted your growth in school first or in your career?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. This is the $1 million question. It did affect me in multiple ways. I mean, I think I shared earlier that I found it difficult to breathe at some points when it came to having to do public speaking or speaking to people new or speaking to people in authority, people who I knew I had to try and impress. For one reason or the other, I got a bit nervous, I got really anxious, and naturally, I just didn't have that sort of social energy that my friends had. Funnily enough, I'm friends with a lot of extroverts. I know so many people who can talk for hours. They love going out, they love chilling with people, and that does not come naturally to me. And so I was surrounding myself with these people, and I found myself exhausted. I love them to bits. I really love them, but I found myself being exhausted all the time because I couldn't compete. I couldn't keep up with that type of energy. And so I'll now start looking at myself and thinking, oh, there must be something wrong with me because I have friends who naturally have the gift of the gab, and I'm really struggling to kind of maintain this energy that they have with me. And I was really, really concerned. It got to a point where I had to start, sitting down and questioning, okay, what's going on here? Until I realized I'm an introvert. This is just who I am. This is my personality. This is a part of me. And how do I deal with that? How do I get over that in times when I need to get over that? And I learned about this phrase called professional persona, because I remember being in this class which was teaching us how to be leaders. It was a leadership class, and they told us, I'll never forget this saying. It says, you can never market shyness, especially in the area of business. In the corporate world, you cannot afford to be shy. You cannot afford to be timid. You cannot afford to not speak because people get the wrong impression. And of course, us introverts, we're lovely people. We're wonderful people. But unfortunately, some people can read us wrong. They can misinterpret us being perhaps a bit more reserved or quiet as timidity, as weakness, as someone that, oh, we don't want to go to her because she is socially awkward. I have actually been called socially awkward before. And these are things that did affect my confidence. I won't lie, they affected me. And so what I did was I learned about this term called professional persona, which sort of changed the way I speak.
And you just described my life, basically. And I'm sure the life of other introverts. So let me know in the comment section if you're an introvert or an extrovert. And if you're watching this after the live stream has ended, still let us know. We would love to hear from you. Based on your reflection, you talked about something called professional persona. Now we could call that personal branding. Branding yourself and positioning yourself for success was something I was going to talk about later. But let's talk about that now. In the digital age where you are kind of crafting your own path, where you have the ability to craft your own path, because they are people that are basically earning from their skills, that people that they called awkward, that couldn't have conversations, they were shy, but when they are on their own and they're able to have conversations, is absolutely fantastic. Why do you think someone that has amazing IT skills, is good at his job, is a nerd behind the scenes, still needs to create a professional persona or a personal brand?
That's good. That's a good question. The way you communicate will determine the opportunities that you come across and how you handle those opportunities. I use myself as an example. Like I said, I'm a quite shy. I was quite shy. To some extent, I am still quite shy. And I noticed that even though I had all this skills and talent, I had all these wonderful ideas. I'm a writer, so I wrote a lot of scripts. I write scripts. I write treatments for TV shows. I do a lot of writing, and I do want to get it noticed and get it published, etc. And I realized that it was really difficult for me because I was unable to speak to the people, to the powers that I needed to speak to the people who were in powerful positions. That's what I mean by powers, not anything else. But yeah, to the people who were in powerful positions that could essentially help me to get to where I needed to get to. And, meeting them, communicating with them was essential. Being able to grab their attention, being able to come across as welcoming, as someone that they should associate with, was a challenge at first because I was just so ill-equipped with the skills needed to be able to stand in these positions with confidence. And I would say that I missed out, unfortunately, on a number. I know I did missed out on a number of opportunities because I was not self-aware enough or didn't put the work in to make sure that when I get these opportunities, I know what to do, I know what to say, I know how to behave. There's some of us, unfortunately, and this is the truth, because again, I've experienced this, when you in the midst of people, especially people who you think are your superiors, it's a thing, it's called authority anxiety. There's some people who, when they see people who they admire, when you see someone and maybe someone sees a celebrity and they're starstruck and they can't speak, they can't do anything, they don't know what to do with themselves, they're just smiling. This is a real thing for people also in the corporate world. They come across someone who they admire and they just find it difficult to speak. So I think it's important that regardless of your profession, whether you're behind the computer, behind the scenes, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still very important that you know how to speak when it's time to speak.
Fantastic. I think I love what you said, because you said you can market shyness before this, and I'm like, but can I package shyness for someone? But I also understand the importance of having your own voice and finding your voice. Now, that's something we don't really have as a culture. Degrees we have, we're stacking them up. How can we stack up skills? And what soft skills do you think we can stack up in order to position ourselves for success?
So yes, you're right about the degrees. We're taught to study, we're taught to, get those grades, but on how to network, on how to maintain relationships, especially business relationships, these are things that we might not necessarily be taught. And so I would suggest that everybody does a self-awareness. You just sit down with yourself and just really ask yourself truthfully, what is it that I really need work on? What is it that I need to improve on? For me, it was my ability to maintain relationships. That's a skill, I believe. Some people are good at it naturally, but it's a skill to be able to maintain relationships. So you have someone in your phone that you want to work with in the future. You don't want to just call them, in my opinion, you don't want to just call them up whenever you need them. You want to at least check in maybe from time to time, make your presence known, make sure that you are someone who remembers people, you check up on people, you listen to people. Exactly. Actually, that's another great thing, being an active listener as well. One of the things I had to definitely pick up when I was a presenter was when I was presenting and interviewing celebrities. Before, I used to get really nervous and I'll stand there like a stick because I'm trying to remember the next question as well as trying to remember what they're saying. But it kind of came across to them as very like, oh, what's she doing? Until I learned how to master my body language and be more attentive to what they're saying, active listening. I remember I used to nod and be like, okay, Yes, putting a bit here and there, make them really understand that I am present in this moment. I also had to learn about eye contact. Oh, eye contact is so important. It's difficult, I know, some people who are shy to look at someone in the eye for a prolonged period of time, but that is something that will definitely help you in your career, in your future. The ability to look at someone in the eye, the ability to smile. They say we have this rule in TV that if you think you're smiling, smile harder. Because yeah, if you think you're smiling, smile harder, because the reality is you might not actually be smiling. Your mind is telling you are, but you're not. So smile harder. Let there be a brightness in your voice. Let people hear you and they think, oh wow, she's so sweet, she's nice, she's cool. Let people recognize you for being someone who is very attentive, someone who likes to communicate in a fashion that people can understand, and someone who's really ready to do the needful when it comes to their career.
Lola, I'm taking notes. I was taking notes. I'm like, eye contact. I don't know how to keep eye contact, and I try my best, especially when I'm on stage. However, most of the people we're speaking to will be, we're going to do a little bit of role playing. So when I started a bit and I was like, yes, Lola will come and give me a lecture. We're going to do a little bit of role playing, and I think this could be useful. Most of the people, let's just say, I'll give you two options, and then people in the comment section could pick one. First option, you have an interview, your first time. You've been working from home all these years, you've built an amazing app, and you have an interview because you want to go into a company to kind of get a role. And you're supposed to do, they say it's always an informal interview. You don't need to prepare so much, but you're extremely nervous. That's the first person. The second person has this amazing idea that someone just stole from them. Their line manager has stolen the idea. They do not know how to be assertive. The line manager bullies them. The line manager is basically not supportive at all about their growth or anything, and it talks down to them. How do they have a conversation? Both of them have a conversation with the person in front of them. And like I said, we're going to let people choose, but you can start thinking about both scenarios and tell me which one you prefer. And if people don't choose on time, we'll pick one. You pick one yourself, but I'll give them like a couple of seconds. So just to be clear, first person, IT inclined, has always been the nerd, has always been stuck in the library and stuck in a book. Everybody just knows the person has the nose down with glasses, never speaks to anybody, but has this amazing opportunity that he knows if he goes into this company, it'll be amazing for his career progression. The second person is already in the workforce, so they've gone through all the interview processes. However, communication with your team lead is becoming ridiculous. Number one, stealing their ideas and taking credit for what they've done. Number two, bullying and speaking to them in a way that is unruly that you shouldn't accept. And number three is they don't even have a good working relationship with their colleagues. How? Which one do you want to take? So case study one, interview entry level. Case study two, experts. That is a lady. One is a lady. The person that is going in the office is a lady. The other person is a guy. So the choice is yours because no one is typing fast enough.
Okay, so I think we can go with scenario one, but
Okay.
I had
Okay.
and then maybe you can remind me, because I would like to make a point about scenario three, about the person who doesn't.
So we have just two scenarios.
Yeah, so I can make a point about that one afterwards, but scenario one where the person is going into an interview and want to know how to compose themselves, and the person's a lady, right? She's a lady.
No, scenario one is a man. Scenario two that is being bullied and harassed is the lady.
Okay, so scenario one. So yeah, it's funny because I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and I was asking them, so everything about you is going to be analyzed, from even the way you smell to the way you look. Yeah,
Okay.
I remember speaking to one person who was my friend, and was telling him about the importance of hiding when it comes to interviews, because you're being scrutinized. Sometimes some employers are looking for, they're just trying to do this for status quo as opposed to actually employ you. Maybe they're trying to, I don't know, get some more insight on the type of qualities that they need to look for in a particular person that they really want to employ. But essentially what you want to do is make sure that you leave a really good impression. And what I've learned over the years is you got to smell good. There was one time I was on the red carpet and I saw a presenter and she was interviewing someone, and the interviewee actually told her on camera that, hey, you kind of smell, your breath smells. I don't know if he was joking, but it was really embarrassing. It was quite sad. I think I don't know what possessed the interviewee to say that, but maybe he was just frustrated at the fact that, you know, he was trying to have a decent conversation and her hygiene wasn't up to scratch, which was quite unfortunate. I think she had been on the red carpet for a long time and perhaps, you know, things just didn't go according to plan. But I learned a valuable lesson from that. It's very important. Your hygiene is important. So back to basics, make sure that you look good, make sure that you smell good. These are things that will even increase your confidence. Be very self-aware of how you look, be presentable, make sure your clothes are clean, make sure they're ironed, make sure you wear shoes, especially because this is a big thing. People wear shoes that they're uncomfortable in, and you can tell it's pinching their feet, they can't walk properly, and before you know it, there's a whole list of issues that they face even before they enter the interview room. So make sure that you're comfortable in the clothes that you're wearing, you smell good, and your hygiene is on point. So when it comes to being interviewed, yes, you have to calm yourself down. I know it's so easy to get nervous because these people, they're asking you questions, you don't want to answer wrong, and you want to make sure that you impress. Make sure you keep a smile on your face. How I deal with my nerves is I smile and I do deep breaths before I go in, but I sit down and I smile. It doesn't have to be a wide smile like this. It can just be like a smile like this. So also, when they're asking you questions, pause. You can take time to pause. You can say, okay, that's a great question. Then answer your question. Make sure you don't speak fast. Some people, when they get nervous, they speak very fast. Their pace goes right up the roof. Practice makes perfect. In order to help with your pacing and also enable to help with your nerves, practice. So, well, before you even step into that interview room, before even you think about doing that, make sure you practice. Practice with someone. Ask someone to help ask you questions. Practice in front of the mirror. You know, make sure you do your research. Of course, that goes without saying. Make sure that you know the type of questions that they're going to ask you and you know what to say, because preparation helps to decrease the nerves and helps there to be more clarity when you're speaking. When you know what you're talking about, it just sounds better. It's more clarity, because sometimes when you're not prepared and you're very nervous, you use a lot of fillers, a lot of words like ooh, and it just kind of loses the beauty of the speech. There's lots of interruptions in the speech. It's not as smooth and it's not as flowing as it could be. You have to really also ensure that you maintain eye contact. Is so important. I've learned the hard way. It's so important. Some people take it very personal if you don't maintain eye contact. They see it as a form of disrespect or timidity. And so, as difficult as it is, tell yourself in your mind, I am going to maintain eye contact. You have to declare things to yourself. You have to decrease up things to yourself before you enter that room. I'm going to do well. I'm going to speak clearly and concisely. I am going to maintain eye contact. My energy is going to be on 100. Even the way you sit down is very, very important. The way you sit, your posture, these are things that will help you when it comes to your breathing, helps you to get your words out, helps you to look more professional, more refined. I'm all about looking refined in front of people. I'm all about making sure that I look my best. I'm very, 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 I'm a firm believer in dress on how you want to be addressed. And so that doesn't just result in my clothing, that also results in my posture, in how I speak, in the manner in which I speak, in my behavior in front of people. I'm very, very calculated and conscious of how I want people to perceive me in certain fields. It's different from sitting in front of a group of friends. I'm sitting in front of people who I want to give me an opportunity and who I'm trying to prove to them that I deserve this opportunity. So that's the advice I would give.
I absolutely love that. The power of the pause.
Yes. The
There's
power to pause.
nothing wrong with a good pause. I think sometimes I'll speak for myself, and most times I tell people to do a presentation. We just want to get done with it. My name is this, and you just want to get done. So embracing the pause, there's nothing wrong with a few seconds of silence, catch your breath, and then you continue communicating. But your body is also doing the communication. So it's not just what you say. Because I think so many people will read everything on the website and then just, oh, this is this. But I like that. I like the fact that we talked about shoes, especially we ladies. Please, no pinching shoes. We should speak slowly and pace ourselves. You know yourself better. But people want case too. And the people have spoken. So the second one is a lady in an office being bullied by a male line manager. He takes credit for her ideas. She has worked on a project for so long and he absolutely just steals it without giving her credit and removes her from the project completely. This has happened repeatedly in her 7, 10 years career. Now she wants to finally speak up or do something about it. What is yours?
Oh, thank you, people, for choosing. Where were you initially? No, I'm joking. So, case study 2. Wow. This sounds like a story that a lot of women, a lot of even men have faced. And I think, again, I read up about this ironically. For some people, it's called authority anxiety as well, where maybe they feel a bit shy, they feel a bit scared almost to speak up to someone who is considered to be a superior to them for fear of the consequences, especially if that person is an introvert and perhaps the person in question is an extrovert who is very sort of well known. In fact, there was a case I know of someone in an office who was an introvert, and the person, in fact, it's the same scenario. The person who in question was an extrovert, and everybody liked him, everybody enjoyed his company. And so there was the fear that if she got on the wrong side of this said person, no one would like her, and no one would want to be around her. And when I heard the story, it was like, wow, this is quite sad. So back to the scenario that you gave, what I would suggest for the person to do is, first of all, it sounds like her mental health is being affected by this scenario. So I'll need to check on her and see if she is okay mentally. It seems like she might not be. And in the office surrounding, there should be the HR department, or there should be like a mental health nurse or a mental health person who can perhaps assist her in diagnosing or detailing exactly how she feels and addressing that there and then also coming up with solutions. But my solution would be that if she feels like she's being bullied and she's being manipulated and she's being targeted at work, that is not acceptable. That is not on. That needs to be addressed. And if she feels she can't actually talk to the person directly, I'll suggest for her to go to the HR manager. But then also, it's very important that as much as we are introverts, there is the time and place where we have to stand up for ourselves. We have to speak our truth. We have to protect ourselves. We have to do the needful. We have to do the right thing. And no one should be bullied. No one should be made to feel a certain type of way because of their personality type. So what I would say is I would go up to the person and address the person and say, listen, I would like to have a conversation with you. Do everything, especially when it comes to the workplace, everything has to be done in a professional manner. Send an email. I'm very good at emails. Send an email, say, hello, I would like to talk to you about this. These are the things that I would like to discuss. This is how I feel. And can we have a conversation? You have to actually protect yourself, because in situations like this, sometimes you're dealing with a person who is just, it seems like they're just rocking with the enemy, if you get what I mean. So everything has to be done professionally. Emails, I would say send an email, talk to the person. Listen, I would like to have a conversation. Don't say listen, but hello, I would like to have a conversation with you in regards to this. I've noticed this and this and this. Please, can we converse about it? Have a face-to-face meeting, make sure everything is documented, and then let that person know that this is how you feel. Now, I guess the question is, how do you do that if you're so shy, if you feel like you really don't have the ability to stand up for yourself? Listen, like I said, there comes times in life where, as difficult as it is, everybody has to do challenging things in life, and you'll be better for it. Trials and tribulations, they really shape your character. I'm a Christian, and I know in James chapter 1, it says, count it all joy when you go through trials and tribulations, because it helps you to be a better person, essentially. And I would encourage that person to sit down and really write down the points that they want to address with this person, and to practice what they're going to say, practice how they're going to respond to that other person's responses, knowing that they know that person's personality. The Bible again says, be quick to listen and slow to speak. It's very, very important, especially in sensitive situations like this, that you're very mindful of what you say and how you say it, so nothing can be used against you in a wrong fashion. But ultimately, what I would say is that there's no ways about it. You're going to have to speak. And if you need assistance with speaking, speak to someone who can help you, who can help you to see clearly, who can help you to refine your message that you want to put across. But don't be fearful. This is life. We're always going to come across people who are just somehow with us, who just do wrong things to us. It's not nice, it's not fair, and we can't stand for it. Okay, so you have
I
to
love that. I love that. We can't stand for it. So I hope the last questions and responses have been quite useful for you, because the first thing you have to learn how to speak up. And talking about that, Lola, people say, oh, you have to be more assertive, that you're a very passive communicator. Can you just explain a bit why some people are a bit more passive and how to become more assertive without being aggressive?
Some, again, it's just, for some of us, it's just easier. Like for me, it's easy to do certain things. It's easier for certain people to do other things. And it's the saddest thing is that we compare ourselves to each other. And that shouldn't be the case. There is a time and place. What I would say is there is a time and place where we need to speak, where it is necessary for us to be confident, fairly confident with our speaking, because there are some people who will purely not understand who you are, what you're about. There's some opportunities that might go based on the way you portray yourself, because not everybody's going to have the time to sit down and figure out who you are as a person. Sometimes you only get 5 minutes. It's just like the elevator pitch. You have maybe 30 seconds to impress someone. In that moment, you can't afford to be very passive or shy. You have to kind of go, 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 go. So I think recognizing that there are moments for those who perhaps are a bit of a laid back speaker or considered to be passive, I would say the first way to kind of get over that is to learn that there are situations that will come that require you to be on your game. It's just a given. You have to be aware that that will happen. Being assertive with your speaking. I know some people think the tone in which you speak is very important, and it is very important. Some people think speaking loudly is a good thing. Of course, you have to be audible, but some people see that as aggressive. Some people think if I speak like this, some people might think, oh, that's me being aggressive, or that's me, that tone is inappropriate. But at the tone in which I'm speaking, at the level which I'm speaking, I don't think I'm coming across as hostile to you. You can tell me in the comments if I am. I don't think I'm coming across as aggressive. I don't think I'm coming across as rude or condescending. I think I'm speaking in a manner that I know that, listen, I'm a voice of authority in this particular space, so I know what I'm talking about. So I'm speaking with confidence. Now, if you give me a topic to talk about that I wasn't confident about, it would be a completely different story. I might not be speaking as loudly as I am. I might be speaking a bit like this, like, well, because inwardly and inside, I know that this is not something I'm comfortable with. But I think being assertive comes from knowing what you're talking about. In my experience, the more I know what I'm talking about, the more confident I become in actually speaking it out. Having said that, there has been situations where just due to the lack of confidence, I've known something, but I didn't say it because I was thinking, what are people going to say? What are people going to do? You have to get to the point where you just say, if I get it wrong, I get it wrong. If it's not right, it's not right. What can anybody do to me? They can't kill me. Until I adopted that mentality, I was very cautious of how I speak, but now I just speak. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But again, I speak when I need to.
I like that. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And I think, yeah, you're correct about something. There's something you said about your paper trail. What I call the paper trail, having emails. So someone said, are the emails the go-to way when you work in a physical day-to-day settings? And I say, keep your receipts. What do you say to that? When people say keep your receipts, what do you say to that?
Oh, I believe it's important. It's important. You've got to document things. It's very important. You've got to have evidence. So if you say things on the fly, someone could say, "Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't say this. I didn't say that." In fact, there was a situation where I remember I was at work and I had to defend myself on a matter. But fortunately for me, I had written everything down and it was time stamped and it was dated. And so when the person in question was trying to challenge me, I said, "Well, look, it's here." On a normal day, I probably wouldn't have written that, but I did because I knew with this particular person, I have to document everything. Otherwise, it's just going to be my word against theirs. And because of that piece of evidence, I won that place. I won that case. So yes, I would agree that definitely, based on the severity of case two, you have to document things.
Fantastic. And I hope these questions have, these responses have helped answer the questions with the two simple scenarios. Because I just felt that sometimes we could teach people things, but when they see themselves in situations, they tend to understand. So, why do you think storytelling is important? Just a quick one. Why do you think storytelling and using things like that is important when we are speaking to people before we talk about elevator pitches?
Okay. It creates it helps to make you more relatable. It makes people more comfortable. It makes people understand things better. You know, again, if I was to talk from a biblical perspective and Jesus used parables, it was so for easier consumption. Because when something is laid out for someone and said in such a way that is very sort of interesting to the ear, it's easily absorbed and understood. And so storytelling is imperative when you're trying to communicate to people if you want them to listen and to fully understand exactly what it is that you're saying. So that's what I would say to that.
Fantastic. So let's talk about the elevator pitch because I think this links in with when you're talking about your elevator pitch. But this is something people talk about a lot. You see lots of videos, see lots of articles talking about the importance of an elevator pitch. Someone may say, I don't have a business, so why do I need an elevator pitch? Why do we in this day and age need to craft our own elevator pitch? And what is it based on? What's the foundation of your elevator pitch? Is it your persona? Or is it who you are? You just show them who you are. I'm shy, take it or leave it. How will you say the elevator pitch should be written?
I'm shy, take it or leave it. That's interesting. Well, it's based on the vision that you have for your life. You know, where do you want to be in life? What do you want to do? You know, you always have to be ready. Always have to be ready for anything. I knew that in my career, where I was going, it was just a matter of time before I run into a particular set of people. And I had to make sure that I knew what to say when I met them. My vision was very clear, it was very concise. I knew this is where I wanted to go. And so I knew that as I was building myself up to be that woman that I knew I was destined to be, that there will be moments where I can share that vision with someone, and I have to do it in a very concise way. Because I don't know if any of you have worked with CEOs. You know, you send them an email and they will respond to you with "thank you." Okay. You send them one long email and they respond to you with like a very short answer. And I think working with a lot of people like that helped me to realize, oh, actually, I only have like 10 seconds to grab this person's attention. I only have like maybe 30 seconds to make sure that this person knows who I am in my entirety. Imagine some of us are in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and you have to sum up your whole life, maybe not your whole life, but your career in 30 seconds. Wow, that is a challenge in itself. So you have to be able to pinpoint the things that you want people to know about yourself, the things that define you, the things that showcase who you are, and be ready to spill it at any given second. It's important because you just never know. A lot of people have missed countless opportunities because they were ill prepared, you know, to really sell themselves when needed. You've seen people on the street. I don't know if you've seen, like, I know in London, perhaps you've been on the street and you have these sellers that come up to you and say, can I just take 1 second of your time? Blah, blah, blah. They literally have 10 seconds to grab you. And you know, those people that try to sell you like the new windows or try to make you donate for charity or something, they have literally about 10 seconds to grab your attention. I remember I was working for a charity once and I had to do, this was years ago when I was in university trying to make some extra money. and I had to go and knock on doors and ask people to donate for money. I can't even imagine doing that in this day and age now, but essentially I had to get about 5 people each day, I think, to sign up to send money for, I think it was Save the Children. And literally, you get people, I don't know if any of you have got spam calls and they call you and they're telling you this and you just drop the phone. I literally had 10 seconds or 15 seconds to really sell this product to them. And I remember when as soon as they open the door, I would tell them a fact about children. I'll tell them, did you know, hi, how are you? Just want to take, I'll literally find myself begging. At first I was begging, but then eventually I learned the tactic and I'll hit them with some facts. Did you know that so-and-so percentage of children, did you know this? Did you know that? And then eventually how I learned to master that was understanding the importance of eye contact and energy that I was emitting in order to make it impossible for them to close the door on my face. In fact, when some of them would close the door on my face, they'd be like, I'm so sorry. They felt so guilty because I was smiling, I was there, I was present, I was firm, I was resolute in my thinking in terms of I'm going to get you to give some money to this charity. It worked. It worked a lot, but for some it didn't work. But in essence, elevator pitch, I think, in my opinion, if you have one, great. If you don't have one, think of one, because it will really help in the time it needs to help. For me, elevation pitch is an indication of the person's vision for their life. If you're ever ready for opportunities, the opportunities are going to come.
It's the vision for your life. That's the way you see it. It should be concise, but you don't want to add so much information. And we could talk forever about elevation pitches, but yeah, sometimes we're having communication with our colleagues. And we've talked about the importance of effective communication. So it's not just communication, but effective communication. You mentioned something, you talked about active listening. So when you're skill stacking, if you want to improve your communication, because people keep saying, I want to improve my communication, but saying it doesn't seem like a practical goal because there are no action steps. So if someone says, I want to improve my communication, what would be the action steps you tell the person to take? Something practical that people can take home from today, starting from where they are to where they want to be.
Okay. There's a book that we were discussing today, I think, and it's just escaped my mind. I think it's how to, oh my goodness. How to win
friends and influence people. I've got your back, girl.
Thank you. Phenomenal book. And it teaches you essentially how to be a better communicator through the avenue of listening and appreciating what the other person has said. So I would say that active listening is, you are paying attention. One time my mom, when I'm talking to my mom, if I'm on my phone, she gets very angry with me because she feels like I'm not paying attention. Even though I can quote her word for word what she has said, she believes that eye contact, me looking at her, me showing expressions on my face as she's talking, is a way of me showing that I'm actively listening to what she is saying. And that's universal, I think, because if you're in a hall and perhaps you're speaking to people and all of them are down on their phone, even though they could be taking notes, even though they could actually just be researching something that you said, you might think in your head, they're not listening to me. And that could discourage you, and that could make you feel like, I don't want to come and speak to this group of people again. So how can we stop that from happening? Well, when someone is talking to you, give them your undivided attention. Speak to them. Let them speak as well. Sometimes we get carried away. We speak, we try to dominate the conversation. I used to be like that. I used to be someone who used to just talk about myself, like run like a tap, until I stopped and realized, oh, actually, I've been on the phone for an hour and I think I've been speaking for 45 minutes and my friend's just been speaking for 15, and that's not on. So now I make it a part of my conversation to listen to what my friend has to say. And as she or he has spoken, I might add a question in there to kind of let them know that I am listening. But more importantly, I am listening, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't want to give the impression that I'm listening. I actually want to listen. I want to genuinely be involved in what they're saying, and I want to advise or counsel or help in any way, shape, or form. And that shows my character. I'm trying to be a better person. And I think communication is a skill that can be cultivated. And the best way to do that is to actually pause and listen. So active listen. So when someone's talking to you, and next time you're having a conversation with a person face to face, look at them, nod, like, okay. It doesn't have to be pretentious. You don't have to overdo it, but at least do some things which makes them realize that you are actually hearing what they're saying. Smile. If it read the room. It depends on what they're telling you. I mean, if they're telling you something bad, don't smile. Don't smile. If they're telling you something traumatic, don't smile. But read the room and respond as needed, respond as necessary, and practice that. That takes practice. I don't think anyone is born an active listener. It's something that you have to do with intentionality, something you have to do with desire. I desire to be a better communicator, which means I actually have to be a better listener. They both go hand in hand with your ability to listen, your ability to pick up things. It helps you. It helps you to keep the conversation going. It helps you to maintain the conversation. It helps you to maintain the trust of the person you're talking to maintain the favor of the person you're talking to. It really, really helps if you learn how to listen properly. Okay. So,
All right.
yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Learn how to listen properly, because there's something that I always tell people, and I can't remember who told me this, but I said you should learn to listen to understand and not listen to respond. That most times when we're talking to people, we're very nervous. We just want to blurt out an answer. We already have a preconceived mindset. So it's like a doctor diagnosing you without listening to you. He's prescribing something and he has not even said, oh, this is who this person is, and paid attention to your body language or anything. But if we're getting close to the end of today's episode, and I've pinned the book for the person that asked the name of the book. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Well, you said something. You said communication is a skill that can be cultivated. I absolutely love that. Now, let's look at the cultural perspective. Most of our listeners are young Black people. They are either first generation, second generation, or third generation immigrants. They are battling between two cultures, the culture at home and the church that tells you you should not be seen as a child. Then all of a sudden you're thrust into the world, and then you're telling you to have a voice for yourself, a voice you never found for yourself. Now, how do you balance the cultural expectation of not speaking back, of holding yourself back, to the need for open communication in a professional environment?
These questions are awesome. Yeah, okay, I can relate.
The conversation, girl.
Yes. I mean, that was an interesting question, because culturally, I mean, I'm Nigerian. I'm of Nigerian descent, and I know the way I was raised. You respect your elders, understandably. There's certain situations where you do not speak. You hold your tongue, especially when it came to living here in the UK and you see your counterparts doing something and then you're kind of told not to do that thing. How do you get over it? How do you now navigate in the real world when it comes to speaking to people who perhaps are even much older than you in the workplace, but the culture there is that you call them by their first name and that you are meant to express how you feel to them? How do you navigate from being told, okay, I cannot speak like this to elders, to now actually even perhaps managing someone who is considerably older than you? How do you deal with that? Well, the thing is, I know for me, I would say that Lagos is in the home. So when I was at home, I was living in Lagos, I was living in Nigeria. But as I got older, I quickly realized that outside, this is London and things are done differently. And I had no choice but to adapt. I think you get to a point in your head and in your career where you realize if you don't adapt, if you don't learn how to do the needful, you will fall behind. Times change, things are different. It's not the same as it is back home in Nigeria. The culture in the UK is different. And I'm not even just talking about the UK now. In general, the culture in the workplace is different to the culture at home. This comes to, and it comes to you actually learning about the culture of your workplace and realizing, okay, once in Rome, you act like you're in Rome. You can't afford to always take certain principles into particular places because it could hinder you. In your culture, it helped you because you were seen as a respectful child, and you were able to garner the respect and favor of people because you were well behaved and you had sense. You still have sense. But in the workplace, if you act like that, people can take advantage. People can misinterpret you to be someone who is very timid, or people can see you as someone who doesn't perhaps know themselves or know much about what to do. So it's kind of dangerous. So you as an individual have to be able to read the room and understand that, hey, in this life, there's places where I have to act a certain way in order to get to where I need to get to. Now, I say that within reason. We have to use wisdom when I say that. But in the workplace, you definitely cannot afford to allow your culture back home to influence the culture in the workplace unless it's needed. But most times, you actually have to understand the culture of the workplace and adapt to that the best way possible.
I love that. Lagos is the home, the office is London. So you're taking a flight as you're getting underground. You're like, okay, straight to London. And that sounds like a fantastic idea. But I want to say thank you, Lola, for this insightful journey. I think it's been remarkable. We've talked about understanding yourself and being self-aware, finding your voice. You told the story of how you found your voice, and I think your experience and wisdom have been incredible. I know I are friends, so I'll say that to you, especially in understanding the nuanced balance between culture, between being an introvert, and the professional norms that we need to have as people that are communicating with others. I think to our listeners, there's one thing that I want you to remember, and it's not just keeping your receipts, but it's understanding that your voice is powerful and how you choose to express it could shape your career or it could end it. So you should understand that yes, there's sometimes you want to be vocal, but read the room. I think that's one thing Lola implied. And you need to take full ownership of your personal and professional growth. I always say this: do not outsource your personal growth to anybody. You know yourself better than others. So Lola said something. Sit down and reflect and say, where am I now? That's what skills do I have? What skills do I want to learn? What skills will help me to get to the position that I want to be? But where I am now in that level. So when it comes to communication, what's my communication level? Where do I want it to be in 10 years' time? And then you start making your own way and your own path. But as we wrap up all that, as in having you on the 3 p.m. podcast, I think we need to do this again. But it was wonderful having a conversation with you. And I pray that everyone that listens will keep striving for excellence in everything that they do. But I still have a question for you, Lola. So,
Okay.
what final advice would you give to someone struggling to find their voice in a professional setting during because of wanting has to do with their mindset, not just cultures, that their mindset is fixed. They've already made up their mind that, you know what, I'm an introvert, it's impossible for me to speak. Everyone has always called me awkward. What final advice would you give to them?
Mm, mm. Wow, as someone who has been labeled before as socially awkward due to the way I was in the workplace, I would say that do not allow the titles that people give you to define you. Do not compare yourself to others. From speaking to people who are dealing with such situations in the workplace, usually when you get to the bottom of it, it's because someone has said something to them or they're comparing themselves to other people. Of course, you can accept the fact that you are an introvert, you're a bit quieter than others, you are reserved than others. So you trying to be something that you're not is only going to frustrate you and upset you even more because you're going to start feeling that you're fake. And then with that, you can't keep up that show forever. But what I would say is be as pleasant as you can be as nice as you can be. When people say hi to you, say hi. Sometimes push yourself gently, push yourself to actually go into the kitchen, perhaps when you see 2 or 3 people, and just say something like, oh, I like your shoes, I like your shirt. And just say it with a smile and start with a sentence at one point and build your way up to kind of being more comfortable with speaking to people on the whim. They say water cooler moments where people come to the water cooler and they just have like small talk. I know some people find small talk really, really annoying, but small talk, I think, sometimes is a way to just kind of garner your confidence, to shape your confidence to be a bit stronger, especially when talking to people that you probably would naturally not really talk to when you're outside. It's very important that you have a rapport with people in your workplace. You don't have to be best friends with them, buddies, but you can be cordial, you can be polite, you can be friendly, you can be nice. One thing is, you don't want to, and I've been seen as this, I'm talking again from experience, as someone who was a bit rude, all because perhaps, I mean, there was a time when I found it very daunting to even say hello to people, because I was thinking, oh, what if I say hello and I don't say hello back? And unfortunately for me, because of the way I am, people would naturally just think, oh, she doesn't want to talk to us, without even ever thinking it could be that she's quite shy. And that's where the label socially awkward came into play. And it hurts, right? It hurts when somebody doesn't get you and they're already calling you these kind of names. However, one thing is, we have to control the narrative. We have to control how people see us. It's important for us to control how people see us. But you don't have to force it. Just make sure that you are as nice and as pleasant as can be, and do what you can with the understanding that the more you talk, the more you conversate with people, the more they get a chance to see who you are in your entirety, in reality, instead of trying to fabricate things or imagine things in their head of who you are. You just do what you can. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, because DK, this is actually, this is really deep. For some people, they can't, like, they go to the toilet, they're crying because of stuff like this at work. For some people, it's really, really challenging. And I've been there, and I understand that. So that's why I'm talking like this, that please, for the love of God, don't beat yourself up because of the way you are. Just make sure that you keep taking steps to work at it. Okay? Take steps to work at it. Don't compare yourself. Again, do not compare yourself to others. You are your own person. You are unique. And there are things about you that people are dying to see. People are dying to recognize. I'll say this last point. When I was in the office, one of the things that people know me for is smiling. If there's one thing they know me for, is smiling. They say, oh, Lola, your smile brightens up the room. In fact, one of them used to call me Lola Sunshine. I don't speak. I hardly spoke, but I smiled. And that was my feature. I smiled. And when I smiled, it just subconsciously made people welcome to me. And even though I didn't have maybe hour-long conversations with them, I was at a place where I felt comfortable with them and they felt comfortable enough with me. And then slowly but surely, I began to garner confidence and speak. Again, I'm not saying I'm best friends with everybody, but I know now how to have conversations. Hope that helps.
That has been so helpful. And I'm sure people are wondering, where can we find you online?
Okay. So I want to take this opportunity to just mention something. I'm going to be launching a podcast soon on the 29th of January. It's called Someone Needs to Hear This. And it's just a podcast where you can hear different people's stories about things that have they've overcome, things that they've healed from. So that's going to launch on 29th of January 2024. And that can be found on my Instagram page, which is Lola_Ebony. So LOLA_EBONY. And that whole Instagram page is going to be transformed by January 29th. So, but yeah, please go on there.
To listen to your podcast and listen to other people's stories, because the amazing thing is stories let help us connect. So when people share your stories, you just realize that you are not alone. Because we started this conversation talking about communication, but we ended up talking about your mindset, about being intentional about who you are. So I want to say thank you. Thank you, Lola, for joining us today on the podcast. And I look forward to having a conversation with you. So Lola can be found at Lola_Ebony on Instagram, and just send her a DM and say, hi, Lola. Or you can go ahead and say, oh, I listened to this podcast and I met you, and just tell her who you are, and she'll be excited to connect with you. So Lola, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks everyone in the chat as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And that's it for today. Well, that was such an amazing conversation we had with Lola. Lola said something: communication is a skill that can be cultivated. And if we understand whether we're introverts or extroverts, Lola said something that I think was exceptional. You need to understand who you are and then accept who you are. Don't try to change yourself completely because you want to communicate, but rather accept who you are and then determine where you want to go based on your career or personal goals. But you'll be listening to the 3PN Network podcast, and my name is DK Jonah. I look forward to having another conversation with you next month. Yes, we'll be coming with someone else, and we're talking about the importance of soft skills. One thing we're passionate about at 3PN is this: we want to help youths have conversations that we usually do not have in our community. It's not just about stacking the degrees, it's not just about getting a job, but it's also about finding fulfillment in life because everyone has something special in them. So if you're listening from anywhere in the world, I just want you to know that we believe in you. We know that you have something special, and we look forward to communicating with you soon. Take care. Bye.